anytime there probably would have been a visionary thing, if it was not in the best interest of Texas and Oklahoma, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and that's a lot of it.
And they need a commissioner who was going and look, Bob Bowlesby for whatever reason could not say, listen, you two have to sit down and shut up, and we're going forward this way. Like, he couldn't do it. And the rest of the conference also is guilty of that as well. Because when you've got 8 other teams, you could say, listen, guys, no, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way. But because of what eventually happened, they were just so scared of the eventuality of losing them, and you had it anyway. And like maybe had you kind of forced Texas and Oklahoma to agree to some innovation, you wouldn't be in this spot. But again, I think that's probably asking too much.
No, and that's fair to bring up, and that's a lot of why maybe certain things didn't happen when they could have happened, was because the voting power was more in, or OU and Texas were basically there to be the ones that always cancel it out or turn it in their direction or just not allow it to happen. I don't know, because there's so many things over the years, but that is one benefit of this new conference, is it doesn't feel like there's tiers. It feels like everybody's pretty much on that same level, entirely. And even if you're not maybe at the top of your game right now in football, like a Kansas, well, look what you're doing in basketball. Like, I think this is a very well balanced out, evened out conference that can garner a lot of respect, and I think it should be able to operate on a much better level without having the two big money cats in the corner, just scheming the entire time off to the side or planning ways how to shut down this plan of yours because it doesn't benefit them directly. And they got to work. I'm not knocking OU and Texas for that. They got to look out for their best interest. I'm interested to see how they're going to be as like equal team partners in the SEC, and how that works for them, because they're not going to be sitting off to the corner by themselves anymore. If they are, they're going to get called out by a much bigger group in the opposite corner. Well, all the schools that are already there that don't care about their money value and all of that. They care about it to the extent that they want to add it to theirs, but they have their own, backing that they can fall back on as well. They're not as much at the mercy as some of these other schools who, if you're a small realignment shift. But if you're a current SEC team, you're set, you're good. So you have a little bit more room to probably shout them down when the time comes. But it's going to be a different look for them in that regard, and it's going to be a much different feel, I'm sure, in Big 12 meetings. So I am looking forward to more of an equal room, but I also know that comes with the drawback of, less TV or less ratings or whatever, because those brands aren't as strong. So somebody who knows how to elevate brands and take a Baylor or a TCU or a Tech or a UCF or whoever, and not look at them as the little brand or they're not this or they're not that. No, push them forward into becoming that. Like, create new brands. Like, break up this blue blood BS where there's been no new members of the club outside of like 1 or 2 in like 50 years, that have been added. I mean, that country club's never going to be broken up, but man, go build your own and make it fun and make it cool, make it unique. And it doesn't have to be like the other one. It could be, its own unique thing, and it might not make as much money, but it can still make money. I might not be a billionaire, but I can still be a 50 millionaire, and I'll take that 10 times out of 10. So, it's not going to be equal footing to what they were doing, but there's still a lot of room for excitement and there's room to be creative.
I tend to think Oklahoma will kind of maybe fall more in line with the SEC and kind of enjoy the spoils of the comfort that comes with that league, as where Texas might, But I don't know, like, look, if everything's great for you and you don't need, like, Texas just has it kind of ingrained in their DNA that they have to be the loudest voice in the room for better or for worse.
I mean, that's been the story, but we'll see how that goes in a much bigger room. Yeah.
It's all different now, when nobody else is going to be impressed by it.
See, I think a lot of people focus in on, Texas needing this ego stroke, and I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think this is just simply a money-driven, future securing deal. And look, they were never going to be, they could go off and be an independent. So I don't think they were ever truly too worried about, needing a conference to be in. Like, they always knew that they were one of the only schools in the Big 12 that no matter what, if everything just disintegrated and they start from scratch, Texas is going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. Everybody else, they're asking how many rounds there are because they don't know if they're going to have, a seat on the boat. But Texas and Oklahoma, no, they're secure no matter what scenario for forever. And so I think this was just about wanting to be in a conference where they feel like they are that distinguished brand amongst other distinguished brands, whereas it sort of feels like they were in a brand, and maybe Oklahoma was on their level, but they were above everybody else. And that arrogance I don't like, and I've never liked, and that's always been my biggest I think thing that I dislike about Texas. Really, that's where it all stems from, is just that sort of arrogance factor. That's all. It's just it conflicts with my personality, and some people embrace it and love to be even more brash and arrogant, and it's not for me. But they're going to be in a room with a lot of people who are on their level, or who they feel are on their level, and they're not going to be looking their noses down. So that will be interesting, and I think it will also be beneficial for the Big 12 to actually look around the room, and instead of having to look up when you cross two different people, all 10, 12, 14 are, seeing eye to eye. And that'll be different for the Big 12 too, and that should be beneficial this time around.
And look, joining the SEC could have been the tipping point for the ego, where it's like, well, this has only gotten us so far, and, gotta secure the future. And again, they did something that financially everybody and their mother would have done,
Yeah, no, I mean, it made sense for the brand and for the money. Like, I mean, that was what it was all about. It wasn't about winning championships and doing, no, it was all about,
it never is.
It was about NIL opportunities. It was about, TV gobs and gobs and gobs of ungodly money. And it was about, big matchups and those things. It wasn't, that's what it was all about.
Look, if it was about winning conference championships, Vanderbilt would have left a long time ago.
Right, exactly,
and found somewhere where they can win. Okay, when we come back.